On today's show, it was a good run, but the Los Angeles Dodgers destroyed baseball.
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Padres podcast, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, the number one sports podcast network in the business for Wednesday, January 21st, as I just got a crazy text in the middle of my read, but we power through. I am your host with sometimes the most, Javier Reyes, and I've been covering this team, not just for this podcast, but various other outlets, including Just Baseball, which my guest is from today, for several years now, and hopefully soon to be more. Today's episode, guys, is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode, so visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Be sure to go check that out. And today's episode, guys, we are talking because why not? This always is fun. It's always fun to complain about the Dodgers, especially when you are in their division, as the Padres are. But I couldn't do it alone. I am being joined by the ever illustrious, the legend of not gambling, the legend, co-founder of Just Baseball, co-host of the Just Baseball show, and many other things, Mr. Peter Appel, longtime buddy. How you doing?
Javi, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man.
Happy to be here.
Absolutely. I couldn't handle the task alone. And it's really funny that this episode actually came about, I believe, about a couple of months ago. And the reason it came about was because the Los Angeles Dodgers signed Edwin Diaz. And then I joked with Peter, hey, do you want to do an episode talking about if the Dodgers are ruining baseball? And he was like, yeah, maybe, but it's been a couple days now since the Edwin Diaz thing. And I was like, okay, no problem. Let's just wait until they sign Kyle Tucker. Yep, it's true. I'll throw up the text messages if I want to right now. I just said, let's wait. And lo and behold, Kyle Tucker, 4-year, $240 million contract. I know that there were deferrals, whatever. I don't really care about that part, but immediate first reaction that you had to this news you are a Yankees fan, but you cover all baseball. But what was your first kind of reaction?
Yeah, and the reaction really stems from me covering the game, right? Because as a Yankee fan, it's more just sad that the Yankees aren't that team anymore. And I know that doesn't sound great, but you enjoy being on top of the mountain. And when you're falling down the mountain, it's not very fun. And that's what the Yankees are doing compared to the Dodgers, who have fully taken over said mountain. But as a person who covers baseball, I have been actually a defender of the Dodgers just because of how highly I think of their organization and how, a lot of their moves I think were warranted, how they've been able to develop the farm system. But this one felt a little different. And I think that even if you are a Dodgers hater, this one felt different because this felt like a flex. Like they didn't truly need to do it. And that was my first reaction. Since then, it still hurts, but I get it. Like, Javi, did you know Kyle Tucker is the youngest or the second youngest player in the Dodgers projected lineup next year?
I did know that.
They're getting a little bit older. Freddie Freeman is going to be 36 years old. Mookie Betts is going to be 34 years old. Now, Shohei Ohtani, he might just be some mutant who doesn't age.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter that he's going to be 32 years old. But Max Muncy, 35, 36 years old. Will Smith is on the wrong side of 30. So I get it. But $60 million freaking dollars. That just brings me back to my original point. It hurts. It hurts, Javi. It hurts.
And I would like to defend the Yankees for a second. I think that one difference between the Dodgers and the Yankees days of doing this is that the core of what the Yankees were known for were like their most famous players were homegrown players, from Derek Jeter to Bernie Williams to Jorge Posada to Andy Pettitte, Mariano. And the Dodgers, like their core right now is all guys that they brought in via a lot of money. And a lot of it isn't their fault. I applaud them for being like, yeah, Boston, we will take the best player you've had since Pedro Martinez for nothing. I'm not going to like blame them for doing that. And I'm really not going to blame them for this. But I really want to touch on what you said about the AAV, which I do think is what's different this time. That AAV is such an astronomical number that it almost feels like even if MLB owners did care, which the majority of them unfortunately don't, I don't think, The Rays, the Guardians, the A's, obviously those type of teams. That it felt like this really felt like really egregious. That 60 million a year is pretty insane, and I think that that's what feels like it's broken the dam. And there's been a bunch of reasons for that, right? Obviously, the AAV, the fact that Steve Cohen, right? I think there are some people who are going to look at this. You're seeing all these reports that Steve Cohen put out that tweet, and he wouldn't have put out that tweet if he didn't think they were getting him. So I think a lot of people are saying even Steve Cohen got outbid. Like, what's going on here? And then you have like Jeff Passan, who did a great piece on, I believe it was on Pat McAfee, just talking about like, yeah, there's a lot of fan frustration, and even revealing that players are also a little bit frustrated by this. And then you have the Evan Drellish report that says MLB owners are enraged by the deal and they'll push for a salary cap no matter what. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. But to me, I think this is the culmination of baseball not fixing its problems for going on like 20 years. I think that you needed to have a salary floor. I think that is infinitely more important than a salary cap. It is not healthy for a league that one team, heck, let's even use the Padres, that the Padres are going to have an estimated payroll tax of like 260 million next year, and the A's, or let's not even use the A's, the Marlins or whatever, are going to be like 20 million. That's just not the sign of a healthy sport. And I think that not curtailing maybe the length of contracts, not figuring out a way. I don't care if the NBA would have found a way, as far as I'm concerned, to be like, you know what? We probably can't have these old owners with teams that have been inherited since the 80s, since 1897, to be making decisions because they're all just going to say, hey, I like the revenue share and let's not try. And I think you needed to find a way to make it that other teams would at least go for a deal like this. While also at the same time, I think both things can be true. And you could be a fan of the Padres going, well, you know what? We could. Yeah, I understand that Xander Bogaerts probably not the best decision that AJ Preller's ever made. But also, if that were the Dodgers, that would not hamper them going forward. There are a lot of teams that if they do give out this deal, that hampers them going forward, and they don't have the $400 million, what is it, $310 million TV deal to fall back on. And that's just the TV deal part. So I think it's possible to say that both things are true, while also acknowledging that we got here because we just have a lot of owners that do not care about the health of the sport and just want to take in the revenue sharing, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. And Buster Olney just came on our show and he said that baseball's economic model has been broken since 1901. Like, this isn't a new problem. The Dodgers have just perfected it, right? You could say, well, did they perfect it when they signed Tanner Scott and then they were able to sign Edwin Diaz? No, that was a blunder. But that's one of the only blunders really that they've made. Every single move that they have made has been a really, really good one. And you got to give them credit for that. And we also have to remember that the New York Mets had the second highest payroll last year, or maybe it was first over the Dodgers. I'm not sure with the tax stuff, but it was certainly enormous. They won 83 games. There was a study done where, spending above a certain threshold gives you a much better chance to make the playoffs, but it doesn't necessarily result in World Series, right? So the Dodgers, the reason why it hurts us so much when they make these moves is when they make a move, it's normally the right move, right? It's not a team frivolously spending and we think to ourselves, that's not going to work. The reason it hurts even more is because we know how smart they are. I think that's the double whammy that fans are dealing with here, because just because you spend doesn't necessarily mean you're automatically going to win, right? We've seen it with plenty of other teams. My team, the Yankees, they're always putting up a $300 million payroll. We haven't won a World Series since 2009. The same thing can be said about the Phillies, right? The Blue Jays just got here. And I don't know if we forgot, the Blue Jays should have won that World Series.
Yeah.
Even with the Dodgers having this team. And that's the beauty of baseball. And that's why I'm not giving up. And that's why I'm not going to be woe is me and crush the Dodgers and demand a salary cap or any of these things. I think a lot of that is bogus. I think we do need a salary floor because, the Ilitch family of the Detroit Tigers has a higher net worth than Hal Steinbrenner of the Yankees. What's his excuse?
No, they're just trying to trade Tariq Skubal. But no, don't worry, Peter. I promise there's a plan. 5 years from now, they're going to have someone who will be 1/3 as good as Tariq Skubal. But there is something that you said that I do disagree with a little bit, because it's the Padres podcast. So I got to get a little bit of Dodger hating. I know that the title was a red herring, and I don't actually blame the Dodgers for the destruction of baseball, but I got to get a little bit hating in. And I'll explain exactly why, Peter. I'll explain exactly why in just a second. Because first, speaking of tax stuff, you know what's really hard? Taxes in general, filling them out. It doesn't have to take over your life, though, because TurboTax this year is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. You can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress of guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can just meet with a TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything, W-2s, self-employed forms, whatever, to get your deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your lovely, lovely life of complaining about the Dodgers tax roll or whatever it is. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, as the ad break caught me sipping some water, we are back here on the Locked On Padres podcast, thriving and vibing despite it all, with my man Peter Appel talking about the Dodgers. They're Oppenheimer, right? Like, they destroyed baseball, is what a lot of people have you believe. There is something that you said that I do want to disagree with. I want to disagree slightly with not the way that they have maybe courted and maybe they got ahead of the curve with the Japanese market. I think especially like just landing Shohei, but years before that, getting some other players. I'm not blaming them for that. What I do want to bring up is I don't think it's that impressive that they were like, yeah, let's extend Mookie Betts. Yeah, let's sign Freddie Freeman. Yeah, let's sign Yoshinobu Yamamoto. In a vacuum, I don't think that those are like these sexy, oh, wow. They signed Chris Taylor for nothing and he delivered a 5-win season. They signed or they drafted Bellinger and Kershaw. I feel like this period, yes, they are doing well, but I do think that there's something to be said for, I don't think they identified like some scrubs and they were like, we can make them better, even though they have done that in the past. So I will disagree a little bit on the note that the super team that they've formed like is a bunch of star players that had question marks. No, that's what I think people were frustrated by, is that there was nothing with Freddie. There's nothing with Mookie. There's basically nothing with Shohei other than the fact that he was coming off the whatever it was, the arm. I'm blanking on the name.
Can I interject real quick?
Absolutely, you can interject.
I kind of disagree.
Okay.
Here's what I mean by that.
Mm-hmm.
Freddie Freeman, the Braves could have offered him a better deal. Anyone could have, right? He signed a deal that is in the price range of pretty much every team, right? In the $100 million range. Right? We make fun of teams like the Cubs and the Red Sox for not spending. The Cubs just signed Alex Bregman to a $175 million deal. Like, those are big market teams that have been hesitant to give out long-term contracts. And it was even in their price range. So really anyone could have gotten Freddie Freeman. And the Braves were the team to let him go. Mookie Betts. Anyone could have traded for Mookie Betts.
Don't get me started on Boston, man. They plague the world even when they're not good. That's what the Boston sports does.
Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the 2025 World Series MVP, quite possibly a top 5 pitcher in the game. The reason I will always defend that one on the Dodgers side is when we posted it, you were there. We posted plenty of Yamamoto content before he officially signed, talking about how much we love him. And what was the reaction, Javi?
Yeah, you know what?
I'll give you giving that guy $300 million before he throws a pitch in Major League Baseball. This is a stupid contract.
Agree to disagree on the other guys, but you're 100%. I will rescind that. The Yamamoto one, I think it was my bubble that made me think everyone was like, wait, we're all on the same page. This guy's going to be good, right?
Yes.
Like, and then I forgot that you're 100% right. You're right on Yamamoto, 100%.
But Ohtani, that's Dodgers lore. Right? There's nothing, again, it works in some ways, right? Like Will Smith, the guy who ended up hitting the game-winning home run. He was homegrown, right? Max Muncy, they basically picked up off the street. Miguel Rojas was the low budget signing. Blake Snell, anyone could have signed him to that deal, right? So I look at a lot of these things, excuse me, and I think to myself, it's a combination of using financial might, being the ultimate destination, and making the right moves and having the homegrown stars.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that doesn't take away from this move in particular being tough to swallow because of the $60 million price tag. Like, I think up until this point, I felt like a defender of the Dodgers. But this one felt like a little bit much, even though I understand where they're going with this one. It's just clear now that $60 million a year over a 4-year deal where you're basically just getting him for your prime, like you have to pay a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
That hurts because 2 or 3 other teams can do it. So how do we fix it? I don't know. The owners and the Players Association are going to have to meet, and we do have to figure something out. But the funny thing is, they've tried, and the Dodgers laugh at your penalties. They laugh when you say we're taking away draft picks. Okay, we'll draft some guy in the 12th round, and we'll make him into a star. They laugh at the fact that you're taking away international bonus pool money. They don't care. They'll use the very little they have to go grab somebody else. So they laugh at the penalties. So what should the penalties be? Well, you could say there should be a salary cap. The problem is it's so anti-player, and I think one of the beauties of our game is that we don't have a salary cap. But I certainly think that we need a salary floor.
Agreed 100%.
I think it's just important to remember that whenever you want to run and blame the Dodgers, what you should be doing is running to blame the owners who might not have as much money as the Dodgers. And when I say might, they don't. We get that. But can they still compete? Can teams who have $100 million payroll increase it? Of course they can. Those are the problems. Because those owners are worth billions of dollars and they have the funds to do it and they're crying poor. We should at least give the Dodgers credit for they're going after it every single second of every single day. And that's what I want as a baseball fan who covers the league. I want teams like that. So there's this push and pull between de-incentivizing the Dodgers to do it, but while also being bummed when they give Kyle Tucker $60 million. There's that push and pull.
It is giving Warriors, right? Like, it is giving Durant Warriors. I know you posted a TikTok about this. And I think that for me, my biggest thing with the Dodgers will always be their fans online just annoy the heck out of me. And I literally got harassed for like a week because I said that they're probably on the short list for Kyle Tucker. And I was like, they're like, we never sign anybody for a lot of money. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I think that there is how do I balance this? I think you're allowed to be like, this isn't interesting to me as a baseball fan. I never find this interesting. For people who remember the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant, the league was basically in a headlock for 3 or 4 years. Where it was basically like, this is boring, nothing can happen. But here's my biggest thing. And Peter, it doesn't matter what I say. They're still going to attack me. They're still going to say whatever. Like, I've tried so hard to be pretty even killed on this. My number one thing will be this. We talk about parity. My issue with the Dodgers is not about parity. If you look at the past 30 plus years of Major League Baseball, there really haven't been that many repeat winners until recently, which is, I think, one of the problems. But aside from the Dodgers with their back-to-back, it hadn't happened, I believe, since your Yankees in the 90s, the actual real buzzsaw dynasty, a real dynasty, not like Los Angeles. But the other thing that I think is a big part of this is you have to be, if you look at the past 30 plus years, 32, 33 years, and I remember texting this in our group chat a lot because it's my favorite thing to point out. There's only been 3 teams to win the World Series that were outside the top half of payroll. Half. So that means if you are just not the Brewers, you have a chance to win the World Series. Historically speaking, the team that spends the most money does not win consistently. And we want to talk about parity. I just made a decent, I'm not going to say how much money I made. I made money off of a person recently who thought that the New England Patriots weren't going to win. Of course they're going to win. They're the Boston sports. What, you've not been alive for the past 20 years? Football has infinitely less parity. It's just more fun because there's less games and we don't have to see the Dodgers win 110 every single year. And just that constant, like, it's like grating on you, right? And I think my bigger issue with the Dodgers is just there's so many fan bases that are like, oh, cool, we got Miguel and Duhar. and they get to just sign guys they don't even need. And that goes for the Yankees, the Phillies, the whoever. And the Dodgers, I really do think, is the culmination of Major League Baseball, owners, whatever, not figuring it out and not being like, maybe for the health of the sport, right? You put out a TikTok. I'm going to say it was a month ago. I forgot when that happened. After Kyle Schwarber signed. And you basically talked about the Cincinnati Reds, right? The Cincinnati Reds owner, or was it the owner or was it the GM? I forgot who. That the whole about the ticket sales.
Oh, no, that was the owner.
The owner was like, yeah, we're not doing anything now because we were going to get him to buy tickets. If that does not paint a beautiful picture of what's wrong with the psychosis of Major League Baseball owners compared to other owners, of course, getting Kyle Schwarber would be great and add tickets. But the idea that that's the only way to get people to go to games, a team in which you have been to Cincinnati that has this Reds festival, right? Even the Yankees don't do that. Nobody does that. One of the original teams. And you're telling me that you also couldn't create a big ticket revenue, make them a sexy thing instead of hoping that Joe Burrow's toe doesn't explode because his offensive line is not existent, right? Instead of that's being their only hope, they get to be like, cool, we're going to spend. And we don't have to get Mookie. We can sign Alex Bregman. We can sign a guy 2 years, $50 million. We can go get a couple relievers. That puts you, historically speaking, in contention. And that's what's been so maddening about this for me, is that we just want teams to not be the Pirates, who until this year had not given out a multi-year contract in a freaking decade. Peter, we were in high school the last time the Pittsburgh Pirates gave out a long-term contract. So that's my big issue here, is it is really bad what's happening to the sport. It's not good that fans, people who don't pay attention as much as you and me, they text and they go, wow, this stinks. What a scam of a sport. Nothing happens. But that is a reputation that baseball has to shed. Dare I say, a little bit similar to the PED thing, back when nobody believed any home run number. Like, they have to shed this thing that it's just rich sport and that's it. And I'm not sure exactly how you fix that, but we're going to talk about that because that's what we do on today's episode. We are fair. We are objective. I'm going to get hate anyway, but we do it anyway, Peter, because we are content creators in the year 2026. And I want to ask you about that impending lockout. And just like that, everywhere, we are back here on the Locked On Padres podcast, thriving and vibing despite it all, complaining about the Dodgers, but really complaining about the rich Major League Baseball. Peter, I don't know where we're heading. I really don't. I believe that Pandora's box was opened long ago. I look at this and I say, how do you fix this? Because my issue is, I don't want to hear anything from the owners crying about that they want a salary cap. Like, I just don't want to hear it. Moneyball. Hey, you know who would have won a World Series probably if they spent a little bit of money? The Moneyball A's. They had the MVP on their team with the best rotation in baseball. I bet you if they just go out and sign David Cone, I don't know, whoever the heck was a free agent back then, right? Around that period, they probably win the World Series. That's just what's probably happening. But unfortunately, now we're in this situation where I'm almost practically wondering if owners are letting this happen. And they're like, let's just stay out of all of this so that way we can cry poor and public opinion is going to be on our side for the next collective bargaining agreement, the upcoming after the season.
Yeah, it's hard to know what's going to happen. And I think that's what's making all of us feel uneasy, is because we don't want to miss games. But at the same time, we know there's a problem. So how is it going to get fixed? I mean, these two parties are going to come to the table and they're going to battle it out. Do I think we miss games? No. And maybe that's the optimism in me, because I don't think that they can waste what they have right now. Because like you said it from the beginning, we can complain about the Dodgers. We can complain about other owners, but I think we can both agree, and everybody listening can agree, that baseball is in an incredible spot right now from a viewership standpoint, right? We saw what the Dodgers and Blue Jays World Series did numbers-wise. In terms of viewership, we're passing the NBA. Like, Major League Baseball is second to the NFL right now in popularity. The owners and the players know that. They don't want to waste that. So my thinking is, and I hope this isn't true, I hope it's the other way, but I think the players are going to cave in some respect. And what I mean by that basically is, they will give in to more demands of the owners than the owners will give in demands of the players.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying the owners are going to get everything that they want. I just think when push comes to shove on little things, the players are going to be like, yeah, because of some of their frustrations about the Dodgers, because they see it too. I mean, it's how could they not? Like, they see that the Dodgers just brought in Kyle Tucker for $60 million, and I'm sure there's some anger there too. And I do think that this was a move to kind of tip the scales a little bit, where you know, the big thing where we don't maybe get a salary cap, but then the owners say, well, we still need this at least. And in the past, let's say this move was never done, they'd be like, no, we're not doing that either. And there'd be a stalemate.
Mm-hmm.
I think now they'll just give in to little things. Again, I don't even know what those little things could be. That's just my kind of general feeling on it based on this past move and the general reaction from both fans, owners, and players alike.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to stand on this. And, you know, we've talked with Jeff Passan, we've talked with Buster Olney, we've talked with Ken Rosenthal. We've all asked them, and all of them have been aligned that I don't think that we're going to miss games. And that's really the only thing that matters to me, funny enough, because I love baseball and I don't want to miss a game. But I do think that this needs some fixing. I also think there's the potential that they just continue to kick the can down the road because of the momentum that baseball has built. So, again, maybe I'm being too optimistic, but that's my general feeling right now. And it's not just based on nothing. Again, talking to people in the know, I'm online as much as anybody. I see all the reactions.
Yeah.
That's my general feeling right now. Do you share that? Are you more pessimistic? Where are you at?
I do share that. And the reason I share that is because, and I'm going to complain about people in a second, but I think that them sort of caving last time is why I think we won't lose any games. Because last time they were trying to get into deeper deals based on what I had read and the people I had talked to, and players were really like, let's just take this deal. We don't want to miss any time. And I get that. And these things are complicated. I don't want to rip into unions, especially now. Like, I don't want to necessarily rip into that and say like, you need better leadership and all this stuff. But I do question a little bit some of the, you know, was it a little bit short-sighted just to get things going for the next 3 years? And then now we're back to a need for another collective bargaining agreement. I think as well, I'm with you. I just don't want to miss games. And I also don't want to hear when we get to the lockout. I don't know about you. I was being driven off a cliff, like I voluntarily. I was just like, I'm going to jump into the volcano, because unless you work in baseball, your livelihood, like that's a big thing for you. Do you know how much I was losing my mind with people complaining about the lockout when we were just in spring training? Like, everyone shut up. Like, I don't want to hear people complaining unless you were involved in the sport and it's your livelihood that, oh, I don't get to watch the 2:00 in the afternoon spring training game right now because people are trying to fight against billionaires to get their fair share. Like, I was just losing my mind hearing those reactions from people. I couldn't stand it. But in terms of the future, I think that I really think this is going to happen. I think too many owners are united on this. I think the Yankees are probably united on this, right? Which is insane. Right, Hal Steinbrenner being like, you don't know that it costs us $100 million to rent out Yankee Stadium. It's like, yeah, we know how. Yeah, guess what? You need to spend money to have property. That's like how the world works. We know that, but I think that's what we're heading for, and I think a lot of people are going to be on their side, right? And I think that's by design. I think owners are like, great, we've tricked people into thinking that it's the Dodgers' fault and not the Baltimore Orioles. Peter, the Baltimore Orioles last year, heading into the season, they won your division. They had arguably just as good, if not better, in offense than the Dodgers. And they're like, cool, we're going to sign Charlie Morton. Like, that to me.
Shigano.
And Tomoyuki, your boy Sagano, absolutely, to me, will always be the number one issue with baseball. In the NBA, you don't make the conference finals and lose potentially, and then say, okay, we're trading Jaylen Brown now. That's what keeps happening in baseball, and that's what they need to figure out. I don't know how. I think that I am more optimistic about games being played. I am cynical about it being fixed and making more of an not inclusive isn't necessarily the right word, but a league where it's like, cool, every fan base gets to be like, hey, we can at least like get a couple cool guys. We
Yeah.
can go out and sign Zach Gallen and Lucas Giolito. Instead, there are the Brewers who get to spoil everybody, win the division every year. And I've made also decent amount of winnings off of people who, for some reason, think that the Brewers are going to win the playoffs. They're not. Spoiler, they're never going to unless they spend. I think that's always going to be a bigger deal. But I also do think that that does not mean you have to be like, go Dodgers. This is great for the sport. Ratings are great. You know what I mean? It's like, well, ratings don't affect us as baseball enjoyers. And yes, their fans are annoying. And yes, we don't have to pretend that while individual players are always going to be interesting, I don't have to pretend that it's interesting that the Dodgers are going to win 100 plus games. Like, wow, really? You know what I mean? Like, if that makes any sense, like, that's not really all that interesting to me. And I will always blame them for the Profar incident. But other than that, it just needs to be, this needs to be emphasized. It needs to be pushed out there that anyone can afford to get a couple pretty great players. Maybe you can't get Shohei. Maybe you can't get Mookie Betts. You can't get Yamamoto. But I promise you, anybody can get those George Springer, Alex Bregman-ish type players, and the history of the league shows you that you can absolutely win as long as you are in firing range of that top half of payroll. So if that cheers anybody up, I hope it does. Maybe it will. Padres fans, not as much because we have to deal with the Avengers Doomsday budget every single year when we have like an A24 budget by comparison. But that's where I think we're at.
Yeah, my worry, basically my last word on this is, is there a system in place that creates that? Is there something you could put pen to paper and create this baseball utopia? Or would it take kicking out half the owners from baseball and saying you shouldn't own this team? All you care about is your profit margins, and you're running this like a business. When I realized the way that came out of my mouth sounds stupid. Of course, they're running it like a business.
I know what you're saying.
But spending more on players to really compete, like balancing running a business and trying to win every year. Is there something we can put on the paper to force them to do that? Is that even a thing? Is that even possible? Or really, is this going to be a problem for a long time because it's just the owners simply don't want to? They have to be incentivized. Is there an incentive for them to change their ways? I don't know.
I don't know either. I like that you're asking. What was the premise of the hit movie Megapolis? Is there another world that's better? Is it possible? Does it have to be this way? Peter, I don't fully know. But ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Locked On Padres podcast as I get stupid at the end there. Check out Friday's episode. I'm going to be talking with Jake Arriani of CBS 8 Sports San Diego. Probably, I haven't locked him down officially, but we're going to talk about some of the biggest questions facing just the Padres. No longer Dodgers talk. Had to get it in there, though, because I'm insufferable and I like seeing the little numbers on my channel go up. So check that out on Friday. Go check out Peter at Just Baseball, the website, all the podcasts. It's all there. Go follow him on Twitter. I'm not currently on Twitter, but you could, well, I am on Twitter, but I'm not using it, but you could follow me there. I'll probably be back for baseball season at Javier, Javiipeno. Peter, are there any last things you'd like to plug for the good people out there?
Our top 10s are coming out on the Just Baseball show, which is really, really fun. So if anybody is interested in some positional rankings, make sure to go check us out. Just Baseball show.
Look, all I'm saying is if Tatis gets slandered again, I might have to join the Just Baseball show again. I might have to make a little cameo appearance and be like, no, I've had enough of this. Unfortunately, you guys are smart, so that's probably not going to happen. But until next time, everybody, stay safe. And of course, stay faithful. My Friday Faithful homies, take care.